Hey everybody, Meisterbloo here, getting back with some Higurashi no Nakakoto ni. I am excited because I haven't played this in a while. Last time I played this was right after my vacation ended, so it's been a couple days. Been really busy lately, so looking forward to jumping back in. Let's see, where were we? So, okay-chan. Oh, we're at that scene again. Yes, excellent. Very good, very much good. Very spooky.
Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that?
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes, and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much, it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. I took everything that I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. That's the creepiest thing ever. It's like the slight like little just like silent head tilt.
Keiji-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down.
That's true. We both should head back home. Bye. Oh, she like outlined like crazy there for a second. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
See you, Kei-chan.
Yeah.
I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright?
Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off in the distance and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. Was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? Or what was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Yashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole. As well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were all warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason I felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at that time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus... Oh no! The odds! Curse the odds! Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious, since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motive. That's it, that has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena, and was just startled by it. That's just the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara. I'm having spaghetti tonight. I'm gonna make me some spaghetti after this. I'm gonna make me some pasta. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and I couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. I was just thinking earlier, when I just started this, I'm like, wow, I've gone like at least 2 minutes without yawning. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic about and outgoing. Well, she kind of points out gender a lot. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold stories... Oh, better untold. I was like, this is supposed to be bitter untold stories? But no, there's no comma. It's better untold. Better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san. When I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At the time, really shouldn't have. I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And even shouldn't have heard about the I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomitake-san the night of the Watanagashi. If I had just gotten that strange sense of... If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't... That's right. So that's why they... Tomitake-san. Why is that always bleeped out in things? I never understood that. If you know, please tell me, because I've never understood why in some cases it's like... It's obvious that they're trying to say killed, or just whatever, insert death here. Why do they censor it? So that's why they Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably Oishi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me about was better left buried. Or buried. I can't pronounce things. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be... Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people in Hinamizawa. Those guys should just follow Oyashiro-sama's curse and just... It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I'd completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. Oh, that reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery? That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed to the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then. They said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see that one mochi was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one's Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said that her grandma had made a ton of them and was told to give them out, if I remembered correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning the one Rena had made was this one, E. For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as soon as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be sure if I knew Mion had made it. Oh, I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with defending champ Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. A smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Choo-choo, It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers to grab it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed it against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act, and then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be a hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it, and yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror of welling up inside of me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct words, my hands were already on the move. Splat, splop, splort, splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out of the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or a reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Higurashi no nakakara ni. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Let's wait. New tips! Oh, goody! Good for me! Yeah, it's great. Hard to swallow. Oh, look at that. It's a little piece of mochi with the needle in it. A few new tips. Oh, God. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? I can't think of anything funny to say. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Oh, it's me. Not directly, no. It's quite a roundabout response. You're saying that there's one that does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state like that? I don't know who's talking anymore. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they are walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter a mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see, so it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm, as though going through withdrawal, is completely different. Tomitake-san's death wasn't civilized. No one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports of a methamphetamine overdoses that produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses Barbiturate overdoses are reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There's no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that there's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. I apologize, but Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits the case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical... I like to think this is like a super highly trained doctor saying out of whack. Brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it cannot be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular state of mind. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was put in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry, he could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It is a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Or sorry, that's a... Basically, he knocked his noggin on the brawl and made him go haywire. Yeah. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Ahem, undoubtedly. If it was a habitual drug use, then as if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I am sorry. I don't know how long. I don't know whether or not to say... I'm going to save this for the next one because I don't want this video to drag on too long because I don't know how long these tips are. So I'm going to do this tip in the next one and then continue on with the story. Thank you all for watching. I hope to see you on the next video. My name is Meisterbloo and peace!